Okay, class, welcome back to Wednesday, I think, second day out. We're going to continue with the same film stuff we were doing yesterday. So you'll need Springboard, Unit 2, and yeah, I guess your notebook. Do Springboard Unit 2 in your notebook. So let's go to, so you should be on page 137 in your Springboard Unit 2 action. And so if you just want to pause me and get that stuff out, notebook, something to write with, and Springboard Unit 2, be good to go. Okay, so you're back now and we're ready to rock and roll. So as you can see, this is an excerpt from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, which I'm not sure if you knew this or not. It was a book before it was a movie by a fellow, as you can see there, by Roald Dahl. Roald Dahl books, if you ever get a chance, man, good stuff. You will like it, I guarantee. He wrote James and the Giant Peach. What else? He had some really big successes. He was just a good writer. Yeah. So we're going to read some excerpts here, and here's going to be the goal. What we're going to do is we're going to try to find some things that Roald Dahl does to create a mood of the story. So you're in fact, let's put mood into our writer's notebook in glossary of terms. So we'll put mood. You probably already know this, but mood is like an overall feeling. Created by the imagery and word choice of the author or the writer, we'll say. Okay? So mood is the overall. Now this is different than tone, and you should already have tone, I think, in there. Tone is the author's attitude. Attitude towards the subject. So like if you really, someday I should do like a tone lesson where we read like different articles written by, so like a conservative writer writing about President Biden, or vice versa, a liberal writer writing about Trump. You're going to see tone for the shizzle, like the different word choices they use, and they do that intentionally to like show their disgust or whatever with whatever party they're hating at the moment. So anyway, but tone's that. These are two different things though, okay? Let's go back to mood. I don't want to, sometimes I think kids think, oh yeah, totally, I'm in moods all the time. I'm not in the mood right now. So mood, we're not talking about your hormonal thing that's happening with you, where like sometimes you're in a good mood and sometimes you're in a bad mood. Not that. Mood, when we're thinking in literature, or I guess film too, this is something that's created on purpose, okay? It's a mood, like it's a creation, if you will. And we can identify it with it, of course, because, you know, we've like had those feelings too. But this is something that's created. It's not a spontaneous, yeah, I'm going through a lot right now, Mackenzie, so my mood's kind of bad. Not that, okay? I hear that a lot. Kids say, I'm going through so much right now, Mr. Mackenzie. That's why I've been mean to you. You know what? All of us go through bad things. All of us go through a lot. All of us have been through a lot. That doesn't give us a little driver's license to get on the mean bus and run people over, okay? That's not part of the lesson. Let's go back to this, shall we? We're going to look at mood, okay? Now we're going to look at how Roald Dahl does it in his, like an excerpt from his book, and then we're going to look at how Tim Burton does it in his movie, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory movie, and we'll compare them, okay? Which I'm sure you're excited. I know I am. I'm bouncing up and down in my little heart to evaluate mood. On the other hand, any English lesson that involves television of any kind is awesome. You have to admit that. All right, so let's go check this out, shall we? So go back to Springboard, Unit 2, and we're on page are we on? 137. Let's read this, okay? This is from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. So I'm going to read aloud, and I would like you to please read along with your little eyes. So you're going to be clicking back to Springboard, okay? You're not going to be looking at me. There's nothing to see here. Nothing at all. Nothing whatsoever. Don't look at me. Look at your text. There we go. From Charlie and the Chocolate Factory by Roald Dahl. The whole of his family, the 6 grown-ups, count them, and little Charlie Bucket, lived together in a small wooden house on the edge of a great town. The house wasn't nearly large enough for so many people, and life was extremely uncomfortable for them all. There were only 2 rooms in the place altogether, and there was only 1 bed. The bed was given to the 4 old grandparents because they were so old and tired. They were so tired, they never got out of it. Grandpa Joe and Grandma Josephine on this side, and Grandpa George and Grandma Georgina on this side. Mr. and Mrs. Bucket and little Charlie Bucket slept in the other room, upon the mattress on the floor. In the summertime, this wasn't too bad, but in the winter, freezing cold drafts blew across the floor all night long, and it was awful. There wasn't any question of them being able to buy a better house or even one more bed to sleep in. They were far too poor for that. Mr. Bucket was the only person in the family with a job. He worked in a toothpaste factory, where he sat all day long at the bench and screwed the little caps onto the tops of the tubes of toothpaste after the tubes had been filled. But a toothpaste cap screwer is never paid very much money, and poor Mr. Bucket, however hard he worked and however fast he screwed on the caps, was never able to make enough to buy 1/2 of the things that so large a family needed. There wasn't even enough money to buy proper food for them all. The only meals they could afford were bread and margarine for breakfast, boiled potatoes and cabbage for lunch, and cabbage soup for dinner. Sundays were a little better. They all looked forward to Sundays, because then, although they had exactly the same, everyone was allowed to a second helping. The Buckets, of course, didn't starve, but every one of them, the 2 old grandfathers, the 2 old grandmothers, Charlie's father, Charlie's mother, and especially little Charlie himself, went about from morning till night with a horrible feeling, empty feeling in their tummies. Charlie felt it worst of all, and although his father and mother often went without their own share of lunch or supper so that they could give it to him, it wasn't nearly enough for a growing boy. He desperately wanted something more filling and satisfying than cabbage and cabbage soup. The one thing he longed for more than anything else was chocolate. Okay, so let's do this. Let me go back to my thing here. All right. All right, well, I'll leave this up here. Hopefully you guys can see, maybe if I tilt my camera a little bit. All right, so in your notebook, make a chart. It looks like this, just a T-chart. You know how fond I am of the T-chart. The T-chart action. I think this is in your springboard too. So here we'll have moods or adjectives describing moods. Remember, adjectives are describing words. And then here we're going to have diction, imagery, I don't know about syntax. We're not going to worry about that. Text, like words, actual words from the excerpt we just read, okay? So let's come up with I'm going to do a couple with you, and then I'm going to let you do your own here in just a second. So what's a mood from that text we just read? Like, what's a mood we just took from this? Good class. Cramped. I kind of think some of these moods, because I could hear some of you thinking, well, it's poor, you know, whatever. And I think that's true. We're going to dissect it maybe just slightly more than that. So we're going to say cramped, okay? That's a cramped little house they live in. So some text evidence. Let's see if we can find some text evidence here for that. I just lost my place, sorry. So they're up here, let's see, paragraph. Paragraph 2, we have, so 6 adults and 1 boy on paragraph 1. Well, actually, we'll go to paragraph 1. So 6 adults and little Charlie. Live together in a small wooden house. Okay, so that's the mood, the overall feeling we get from the story is cramped. What are, gosh, sorry, I just lost my place. What are some other moods maybe that we got? Good class, hungry. So. What else? Poor. Yeah, we said poor earlier. We'll say poor. I don't know about you, and maybe it's because I'm in this freezing cold classroom where it's freezing cold and it's blasting freezing cold air and it never stops blasting freezing cold air. I'm not complaining or anything. But hungry, cramped, poor, and I'm going to say cold. For some reason, I really got the feeling of like coldness happening. And I think desperate too. Like I think I'm out of room. You could write desperate on yours because of that last piece where we see him wanting more than anything chocolate, right? Like that's what he desires more than anything else in this tiny little life, this little tiny chocolate factory, little Charlie life. Okay, so what I want you to do, you can do this now. Kind of recommend you do it now, but up to you. It's a free country, kids. I want you to pause, and then I want you to find the text evidence for these. And you can see I didn't write a lot here. You don't have to either. I don't want one word though, so like a sentence or whatever. And don't be writing paragraph 2, paragraph 3. I'll do that. Just give me this sentence, okay? For each of these. And if you can think of any other moods, add them and do those too. So I would pause old Mr. McKinsey, me and my fat head in your screen for just a moment and go and do those, but you can do it after because we're going to move on. Okay, so go back to Springboard, and we have one more excerpt we're going to look at. Okay, I don't know, should we do the extra excerpt? That's a good question. Because here's what I was thinking. So eventually what we're going to do is once we do this text stuff, we're going to look at the film version of it. So I wonder if we should do that. What do you guys think? Should we go to the film now? Do the film action? Okay, I can hear you. I can hear your little voices in my head. Yeah, Mr. McKenzie, film time. All right, let's do film. So underneath this chart, I want you to draw another chart, okay? So draw like a line underneath it or whatever. I'm gonna have to erase this. I'm just gonna erase it. To make our new one, okay? So moods, so the mood thing's gonna stay the same. We're gonna still find mood. But over here, we're gonna do the cinematic, like the film techniques. And moods. So you're gonna go back to your notes from yesterday, the cinematic techniques or whatever, and if you weren't here, these are in Springboard. I forgot what page. You're gonna have to look at the video. It's close by though, it's like just a few pages back. Film techniques, and I want you to find, it would be ideal if you could find the scene that we just read about seeing little Charlie in his little cramped house, eating his cabbage soup, and all the adults are laying in their bed. And I would like you to do the Tim Burton one, like the Tim Burton Charlie and the Chocolate Factory for this, okay? So go to YouTube and just kind of search through that and you'll find it, no problem. And if you can't find that one, I guess any film technique will work, but I would really like that one. Maybe I'll try to find it and put the link in with this lesson. I wonder if I could. I'm not going to do it right now. I'll try to find it, and if I do, I'll put it in the link in the lesson, or maybe the comment section below, or whatever. Well, something. But if I can't, I know you guys can do it, because you're much, much better at finding things than I am on the internet. So you're going to find this same scene where they're in the house. Charlie's, so desperate or whatever, and sad, his little tiny house, whatever. You're going to write down some moods, and you're going to see how Tim Burton, what were some things he did to create that same mood, okay? Okay, so, I almost asked any questions. Ask your questions, ask away. This guy's not going to answer them, but you can ask. All right, so let's, how much time do we have? I'm trying to think if we should, call it a day here and just let you do this piece or move on. I think I'm just going to move on. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to press forward. So let's go back to Springboard. If you want to pause me and get this first half of the assignment done, great. Do that. Otherwise, we'll read on. So let's go back to Springboard. Go to page. What page should we leave off on? Page 139. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to read aloud. Go to your Springboard. You can read along with your little eyes. Um, the very next day, so this is Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, passage 2. The very next day, the first golden ticket was found. The finder was a boy called Augustus Gloop, and Mr. Bucket's evening newspaper carried a large picture of him on the front page. The picture showed a 9-year-old boy who was so enormously fat, he looked as though he'd been blown up with a powerful pump. Great flabby folds of fat bulged out from every part of his body, and his face was like a monstrous ball of dough, with 2 small, greedy, curranty eyes peering out from upon the world. The town in which Augustus Gloop lived, the newspaper said, had gone wild with excitement over their hero. Flags were flying from all the windows. Children had been given a holiday from school, and the parade was being organized in honor of the famous youth. I just knew Augustus would find the golden ticket, his mother had told the newspaperman. He eats so many candy bars a day that it was almost impossible for him not to find one. Eating is his hobby, you know. That's all he's interested in. But still, that's better than being a hooligan and shooting off zip guns and things like that in his spare time, isn't it? And what I always say is, he wouldn't go on eating like he does unless he needed the nourishment, would he? It's all vitamins anyway. What a thrill it will be for him to visit Mr. Wonka's marvelous factory. We're just as proud as can be. What a revolting woman, said Grandma Josephine. And what a repulsive boy, said Grandma Georgina. And suddenly, on the day before Charlie Bucket's birthday, the newspapers announced that the second golden ticket had been found. The lucky person was a small girl called Veruca Salt, who lived with her rich parents in a great city far away. Once again, Mr. Bucket's evening paper carried a picture of the finder. She was sitting between her beaming father and mother in a living room of their house, waving the golden ticket above her head, grinning from ear to ear. Next page. Veruca's father, Mr. Salt, had eagerly explained to the newspapermen exactly how the ticket was found. You see here, fellers, he said, as soon as my little girl told me that she simply had to have one of those golden tickets, I went out into the town and started buying up all the Wonka candy bars I could lay my hands on. Thousands of them I must have bought. Hundreds of thousands. And then I had them loaded onto trucks and sent directly to my own factory. I'm in the peanut business, you see, and I've got about 100 women working for me over at my joint, shelling peanuts for roasting and salting. That's what they all do all day long, those women. They just sit there shelling peanuts. So I says to them, okay, girls, I says, from now on, you can stop shelling peanuts and start shelling the wrappers off these crazy candy bars instead. And they did. I had every worker in the place yanking the paper off those bars of chocolate full speed ahead from morning till night. And 3 days went by and we had no luck. Oh, it was terrible. My little Veruca got more and more upset each day, and every time I went home, she would scream at me, "Where's my golden ticket? I want my golden ticket." And she would lie for hours on the floor, kicking and yelling in the most disturbing way. Well, sir, I just hated to see my little girl feeling unhappy like that, so I vowed I would keep up the search until I got her what she wanted. And then suddenly, on the evening of the 4th day, one of my women workers yelled, "I've got it, a golden ticket." And I said, "Give it to me, quick." And she did. And I rushed it home and gave it to my darling Veruca. And now she's all smiles and we live in a happy house once again. Well, that's even worse than the fat boy, said Grandma Josephine. She needs a real good spanking, said Grandma Georgina. Okay, so we have two tones, in this that I would say. And we're going to make our chart again, so let's do that. Let's make a brand new chart here. So we're going to do, what do we say? Diction are words, right? Or the way words are used. And then imagery, text, whatever we're going to say here. Okay, and we have 2 moods. Actually, maybe 3, but definitely 2. So first we have, I think his name was Augustus Gloop or something like that. So on that one, we had a mood or of like disgusting. Maybe spoiled. Greedy, maybe. and so, and I'm not going to say there's a fat tone, because fat's not a tone. And we don't want to body shame anybody, okay? No, we're all okay, just the way we are. No body shaming happening here, okay? For Augustus Gloop. And then Veruca Salt, I think it's pretty easy. Spoiled is a nice tone. Hideous, disgusting, whatever. I'm going to let you add Veruca Salt in here. Oops. You're on. And greedy or whatever you want there. And then I think, you could pick one for grandma too, the grandma and grandpa, or no, the 2 grandmas, Grandma Josephine, Grandma Georgina. They both had something to say about this. They were like disgusted, so that might be their tone. So you're going to find the text evidence to go along with these. Again, I would like you to see if you can see this. I don't know if you can see this. Sorry. So there we go. So I want you to find, continue filling out the moods for Veruca. And then also the text image, the text evidence or whatever, just sentences for that. When you're done with this, you're going to draw another chart just like you did last time. Only you're going to do film techniques. You're going to look this up again on YouTube. And you'll fill those out, okay? And again, it would be nice if you could find and I'll look for the film clips for this and see if we can find them. And then I'll just put them in Schoology or in the comment section or somewhere. But I'm pretty sure you guys could probably find these. So text evidence, okay, and then the film part. So that should take you through the remainder of the hour, except the last thing I would like you to do today, since we've read 2 excerpts of the so we did Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, the book, and we also did the movie. I want you to create a Venn diagram where you talk about, so compare and contrast the 2 works, so the book and the movie. Honors students, I want you to do the same thing. Well, you don't have to do the diagram. I want a paragraph where you talk about, where you kind of do compare and contrast, but paying attention to the mood, like how is the mood created, okay? Remember, we're honor students, so we do not ask how long should it be. I want a nice paragraph, an honors student worthy paragraph. Honors kids don't ask how long. They don't. They just do it, okay? Remember, honors kids turn in excellence, so you can do that. So that's today's work. Rewind me if you want to hear something else. I don't know. And that's Tuesday's, no, Wednesday. We're on Wednesday. Wednesday's deal. So we just got one more day. All right, so I'm going to sign off here. Have a great day. Make the world a better place, kids.